Well, hello, movie lovers. How is everyone's doing? Guys, it's me, Rossie. How is everyone doing? I hope you all had a wonderful week. This tonight, this show is special because it's going to be joined. My little sister Joanne is going to join us, otherwise known as Missyjo Stargazer, and we're going to review and talk about just one of the guys. Joanne and I loved 80s movies, and we thought this would be great to get together and talk about one of our favorite movies. So I'm going to read a little synopsis before we get started. Actually, you know what? Let's just go ahead and get started, guys. Okay, guys, so let me read a synopsis before I welcome in Joanne. So, this movie is a 1985 comedy, really good movie. It's called Just One of the Guys, and it stars Joyce Heiser as Terry Griffith. So, when Terry loses her high school's writing competition, she's convinced that it's because she's a girl. So, Terry decides to change high schools and pose as a boy to prove her point. Her brother, Buddy, who's played by Bill Jacoby, helps her pass as a guy so well that she is soon making friends with the boys at school, including the attractive Rick, who is played by Clayton Rodner, who becomes her new best friend, but her gender swapping makes things a little difficult when she falls in love with him. So let's welcome Joanne. Hi, Joanne.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Good. So this is Joanne's first time on the podcast. She's never done podcasting before, so she's a little nervous. All right. So, anyways, so Joanne did pick out this movie, and we thought it'd be really fun for her to come on like once a month, and to bring a new movie, from the '80s, teenage movies, that is.
Yes.
And a lot of the other films that we'll be doing will be like John Hughes films. So your Pretty in Pinks. What else, Joanne? Pretty in Pink.
Grease 2.
Did he do Grease 2, John Hughes?
No, John Hughes.
No. Get it together, sister.
16 Candles.
Yeah, right. Anyways, so tonight we'll start with we'll talk about just one of the guys. So, why did you want to start out with, picking just one of the guys as our first movie that we would review together?
I love 80s movies, and I just really love this movie. I like the actors, and I like the just everything about the 80s.
Right.
I like the clothes, the fashion.
Right.
Yeah, the fashion, just how they dress.
Right.
I love it.
And being that we were children, little kids of the 80s, we obviously loved everything about it. But that's one thing that I have to say, for 80s film, this one reflects all of that. Okay. It has all of it.
Yes.
Our fashions at the time, what we listened to at the time. And I remember when I first saw this movie, Joanne, I don't know if you're home, because I was a homebody. Joanne was always outside playing. So I was always inside watching movies. And on the weekends, she'd sit and we'd watch movies on Sundays and all that. But the first time I saw this film was with Mom. And it wasn't like when it first came out. I think it was like years later. It probably was like in the 90s. And we were like remember me, you and Mom would do movie nights. And we would rent movies. So I believe we rented Just One of the Guys. It was the first time that I saw it. And I really loved it. It was really good. So to start, you have Terry and Buddy, who are brother and sister. And Terry is this beautiful, gorgeous young lady. She's in her senior year of high school. Her brother, who is Buddy. And one thing about Buddy I have to say is that Buddy is hilarious. Throughout this whole film, he makes his little appearances, and he's really funny. Like he totally holds the movie together. So he's great as your 15-year-old horny brother who just wants to get laid.
Like the annoying little brother.
Right. But super cool. And it means that, he loves his sister, but that's his goal throughout this whole movie, because Mom and Dad's gone for like 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So they have the house to themselves for 2 weeks. So Buddy's like, I'm 15, I'm ready, and I just want to get laid. So
Yeah.
that's his mission throughout this whole film. But in the beginning of the film, why don't you talk a little bit about Terry and what made her make the decision that she's going to make?
So Terry, she um, went for this writing competition,
Right.
and she wanted to write for I believe it was the Sun Tribune paper,
Yes. Right.
and she oh sorry she sorry.
It's okay. Listen, this is what happens, and you can just interrupt me, okay? Remember, she's a little nervous, but it's going to be fine. So what happens is that, remember, Terry is in a writing class in college. She
Yes,
wants to be a journalist. She wants to be Barbara Walters. May she rest in peace. So, being that she wants to be Barbara Walters, she's in this writing class, and
she
she
goes
feels
for this.
like, go
Sorry.
ahead, go
Oh, she
ahead.
goes out for this writing competition, and yeah, like you said, she wants to be this big writer. So she did her paper. She turned her paper in, and she didn't get picked. So it
Right,
was two guys that got picked.
right,
So she was disappointed, but very upset, and was wondering why didn't she get it.
right,
So she decides to see if do like a gender swap and see
right,
if being a male, can she win that competition,
right.
or you know she heard the two of the teachers talking
Yeah.
about
Oh, yeah,
how pretty she is, and stuff like that.
yeah.
So go ahead, sorry.
Okay, so I'll take over from here. So what happens is that this competition that she is wanting to be in is for the summertime. If you win,
Yes,
you get to work at the Sun Tribune for the summer.
yes,
For the summer, so this can catapult her career because she wants to be a journalist. So
yes.
what happens is she, a paper that she wrote that she thought was like really good. She goes to see the teacher to talk about why didn't she, get the grade that she wanted on this paper. And as she's going to talk to her teacher, she catches him speaking with another teacher.
Another
And this
teacher.
other teacher was basically, like Joanne was mentioning, was basically talking about how hot she was, how good she looked, and
She can be a
it made her
model.
think like, yeah,
Hmm.
she could be a model. And when she, the teacher finds out that she has heard this conversation, he's a really good guy, and he knows that he effed up. So
Yeah,
he's like, she's like, what's wrong? Like, why? What's wrong with my paper? And he's letting her know it's just, it's just not there yet. I mean, you
she's
could be a
yeah,
model,
she's
which is
not she's
very,
not there yet.
yeah, she's not there yet,
She's
and it's
not
very.
there yet. Go ahead.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
babe.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
she's not there yet. Um,
Hi,
you
John.
know, but she's not there yet, but it's just I guess it's confusing to her,
Right,
why was these two guys picked.
right,
So what she does is, she does a gender swap, and
right,
she wants to see, well, if I, change, my, change into a male, would I
right,
get, will I get the accolades that I deserve, or is it
right.
because I'm a female? So
Right. And
she,
so and so that's the film right there. So that's what
mhm,
we're going to talk about, The question
yeah,
is, if she were a guy, would she have gotten picked? Would that paper, would that grade have changed? So Terry's like, this is going to be her social experiment. So a funny thing is what she does is she's at home, she's talking to her brother and her best
mhm,
friend Denise.
Denise,
And um she's telling Denise that basically, like, this is my plan. Like, I feel like that they judge me. This is my plan, and I'm gonna see if I can do it. So what does she do to trick them? What does she do first to trick, her
so
brother?
she dressed up as a male, and she rang she was at her house, but she rang the doorbell. Her brother answers the door, and she says, is Terry home? And
Right.
he's not realizing that's his sister at the door.
Right.
So uh she smiles at him, and he looks at her and says, Terry. She
Right.
fooled him. So
Right.
she's like, well, if I can fool my own brother, then I'll be able to fool other people at the new school she decided to change.
Right. Because
So
what Terry
once she
did
did that,
was,
go
go ahead,
ahead.
babe.
No, go
Go
ahead.
ahead, babe. Okay, I'll
Oh,
go. So
okay.
what she decides to do is she decides obviously she's going to have to change school, so she changes
Hmm.
schools
Yes.
to prove her point of if I'm a male, I can do
Yeah.
better.
Hmm.
One thing I do want to bring up, Joanne, is the fact that we'll get into what happens when she goes to the new school. But remember, when she goes to that new writing class, and as the guy, Terry, when she shows up at the
Yeah.
new writing class, the teacher, calls her to talk to her, and it was a male teacher. And he, remember, he criticizes
I was
her
just gonna.
paper. And let's, okay, go ahead, tell what they,
Yeah. Yeah.
how
He
this
criticized.
turned out. I mean,
Yeah. He criticizes her paper, and because he wanted more emotion in it.
right,
So the first teacher, he wasn't. He was kind of right.
right,
She needed more emotion in it.
right,
And I don't think at that time she understood that. She just thought, oh, because I'm a female, you know.
right, right.
So yes, that's the part
And
that I
it
was.
And what's kind of funny about it, it's kind of like, as a female, it's like,
Hmm.
as a female, she got criticisms about her writing. As a
Yeah,
male, she needs to be more sensitive,
yeah,
so she's like kind of, conflicted with this. And remember, the first teacher told her, you need to write about something that is just that you feel,
yes,
something that people want to read, because the other teacher,
yeah,
they felt like her writing was boring, like
yeah,
she's good but she wasn't there. So she gets checked that first day at that school to kind of let her know, and this is her as a male, a
yeah,
male teacher telling her, you need to be more sensitive, just
yeah. You got to write
so.
differently.
Absolutely, you got to write differently. So
Hmm.
Terry takes that in, and you can talk about her first approach to this new school. And I don't know if you remember, but that one girl kind of compared him to looking like oh, the Karate Kid, because it's so
Yeah,
funny because he does when she is
yeah,
a male. Don't you think like she looks like the Karate Kid? So,
yeah.
anyways, tell about her first introduction to the new school.
So she is she's dressed up, as a male, and she looks like a male. She cut her hair,
Absolutely. Right.
she cut her hair.
Right.
And but her first, it was Sturgis Wilder High School. And her first day, she ran into the bully of the school, Steve Tolan, and he bullies
Greg
everybody.
Tolan.
Well,
Greg.
sorry, Greg Tolan.
You keep wanting to
And
call this man Steve all
I
day. You
know
want to
I
call
always
this man
I
Steve.
always do that.
Girl, get it
Always
together,
Greg
sister.
Tolan. And and so he does something to another student, and
Uh,
she's he's laughing, and then he throws her in the or him whatever in the bushes.
right.
That's when they introduce Rick Morehouse
Right. Who
because she
who
got thrown.
will who, go
Go
ahead. Who
ahead.
she got thrown in the
She
bushes.
got
Sorry.
thrown in the bushes. So
Right.
that was her
So
first day of the new school.
right.
Running into him, and then what else happened?
Let me talk about this part though with with
Go
with
ahead.
Rick, because when she meets Rick is another character in this movie that is going to play an important part,
Yes.
a big part of this movie, because remember, when she meets Rick, obviously, Greg Tolan, who is, we've all experienced the Greg Tolan in high school. He's the popular
Yeah.
guy, he's the
Yeah.
jock, and he's an asshole. You know what I mean? He
Yeah.
picks on the younger kids, or the what he considers weak. And it's during the days of throwing you in the bushes, throwing you in your locker, and
Yeah.
just the what is that? The pulling the guy's shorts up from behind. He's
Oh yeah, the
he's that
jock.
guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the jockster. He's that guy. He's just a terrible guy, and he has this
Don't
girlfriend
forget the
named.
two. Sorry, don't forget his two
Mhm.
friends. The two
Oh,
friends.
and of course, like all other guys, the
Hmm.
stereotypical popular guy. He has his two henchmen who's
Yeah.
always with them,
Yeah.
because of course can't do anything by himself. He has to do it with
No.
two other guys. So he's just an ass throughout this whole film, and you guys will see that. And he does a good job at it.
Yes, he
But
does.
yeah, so Terry ends up becoming friends with Rick Morehouse, who's a
Yes.
really nice guy. I mean, kind of awkward. you know,
They were best
go ahead.
friends, you know.
They
They,
end up being
sorry,
best
they
friends,
were
yes.
they ended up being best friends,
Yes.
but remember he was only at that school. He started 2 months, you
Yeah,
know.
so he was
Yeah,
Rick's Morehouse story is, you know, he's a music guy. He loves music. He's in the
James
band.
Brown.
Yeah, he loves James Brown,
Yeah.
and he moved around a lot. So,
Yes.
you know,
Yep.
he and Terry, you know, they connected at lunch. You know, bros. And you know, one
Hmm.
thing I have to say though, don't you think it's funny that how Terry imitates what being a guy is? It's the stereotypical,
Yeah.
just ball scratching,
Yeah.
uh, you know, just the do thing, and you know, bro, and all that. And
Right.
so it's funny, her walk too. I love the walk where she thinks,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
this is how guys walk. So it's quite hilarious. Her, you know, imitating what she considers a guy, being a guy. But
Right.
anyways, her and Rick get to know each other. Prom's coming up, and you
She
know,
wants to
Rick is
find Rick
kind
a
of,
date.
because Rick is really awkward and he's just,
Hmm.
you know, not into it, don't want to do it. And so Terry, what?
So Terry, she wants to get Rick a date for prom, and like you said, he's very awkward.
Right,
Um, he asked a couple of girls, you know,
right,
but there was one girl that he really liked, you know,
right.
and he was shocked that 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 Terry talked to her, Deborah
Right.
Strobridge,
Who? No,
and
tell who Deborah is, who she's connected to,
so
so
Deborah
everyone knows.
Strobridge is Greg Toland's girlfriend, and she
Right,
doesn't like the way Greg treats everyone, you
right,
know, but you know they're dating, but she didn't like the way that he was treating everybody, you know,
right.
especially
And they
when it
always
came.
have girlfriends. They always have
Yeah,
girlfriends. These type of
always.
guys, it's so funny
Yeah,
with these type of guys, just because no matter how they are, you would think, gosh, if he acts like that, like why would you want to date someone like that, you
yeah,
know? So it was just, it's just, it was just something I thought about in the movie, as you know, as you get to see their relationship. And she's super
yeah.
sweet, but that's who Rick really likes. And so, you
Yes,
know, he approaches her at the right time, because and we, you know, we're gonna jump around, guys. We're gonna just jump around.
yeah.
I do want to speak upon the fact that uh um when Rick gets the date, it's that girl Sandy that
Oh
ends
yeah.
up really liking Terry. And this is a
Yes,
young Sherilyn Flynn, guys. Just a beautiful young Sherilyn Flynn, and she plays Sandy, and she's
yes,
all about her some Terry, because she's the girl that said, "Oh my God, he looks like, you know, like the Karate Kid. Like I'm gonna get him," and that's
yeah,
exactly how she said it too. Anyway, so they end up going on a double date. You know, Terry talks
yeah.
Rick into just going out with Sandy and Sandy's friend. And what do we
It was
find out about
Sandy's. I
that?
think it was her cousin. It was
Okay,
Sandy's
but
cousin.
tell them about that date. Who we find
Yeah, they
out,
went to the. I believe it was called the cave,
right?
and um, Rick begged Terry to go. She didn't
Right,
want to go, but they went.
right.
And when they were there, Rick didn't know that the cousin was in the sixth grade. She
Jill. Her
ended up
name
being
is Jill. Yeah,
Jill. She ended up being, yeah, she's in the sixth grade.
right.
But they went on a walk together, and then when it was just Sandy and Terry,
Oh,
Sandy
right.
was trying to, make out with him.
Yeah.
And remember when he pulled, or when she pulled a sock out?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I remember watching that for the first time. And
Hmm.
thanks, Clint. I appreciate that. It is a blast from the past. Absolutely. And thanks for liking the show, Clint. Um, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was like nervous during that part, because it's like, oh my gosh, she's
Hmm.
like getting too handsy with Terry. You know,
Yeah.
maybe she might feel his breast, and Terry's just kind of like, oh no, Sandy, like no. And then Sandy like starts filling him up and reaches in his
It
pants
pulled us
and
out.
pulls
Yeah.
out the freaking socks. And but it didn't go left, because come
No.
to find out, Sandy felt like, oh, you like me that much, you did that
That
for
you,
me.
yeah.
So yeah, she wasn't offended at all. She thought like he did all that for her. So that's their day. Poor Rick,
Mhm.
who gets set up and finds out the girl's in sixth grade. So he treats her like a little sis and goes on a walk so he can leave Terry, and
Yeah,
because obviously Rick doesn't know Terry's a girl, and leave his buddy with
yeah.
to maybe get lucky with Sandy, which we did not want that to happen.
No.
At the same time, though, also, guys, we didn't mention, like, girl Terry has a
Yeah.
boyfriend. He's in
Yep.
college.
Kevin. Mhm.
Tell him about Kevin.
Yeah. She has a boyfriend. He's in college, and his name is Kevin. And he's in love with Terry.
Absolutely.
And when Terry decided to, you know, turn into a male, she had to do a lot of dodging him,
Right.
and
Right.
Buddy and Buddy couldn't stand Kevin. He hated him,
Right.
you
Can't
know.
stand him. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
So well, what I was going to say is that at the time
Mhm.
that they're at the beach, Kevin, who's been trying to get time with his girlfriend, Terry. She's always busy, and she's talking about her paper, and he just
Yeah.
wants some time with her just to go out.
Yeah.
He's kind of a jerk in a way too, because it's like he doesn't take the fact that her writing and her wanting to be a journalist serious. You know what I mean?
He
He
just looks
wants
at
her
her
to
as
sit.
a pretty girl,
Yeah, just a pretty
like pretty
girl,
girls
a
can't write.
trophy. Right,
Yeah.
yeah, like a trophy, like
Hmm.
pretty girls can't write, they can't, they're not smart.
Right.
And so she has to dodge him a lot of the times so that he doesn't know what she's doing. But
Mhm.
at that time, remember, Buddy's got this so-called date,
Oh yeah, the study
Terry's
date.
funny little brother with she's a tutor, and he has the night plan where he thinks he's gonna have sex with
Hmm.
her and all this stuff. Kevin ends up showing up and end up doing algebra with them. I mean, totally ruined Buddy's life. Okay, so
Terry
um,
ended.
go ahead.
Oh, Terry ended up coming home, and remember she had to go, climb the thing.
Right.
But no, she was drunk,
Yeah.
and that's when she went downstairs and um, saw Kevin, and
Because they have a date or something. They're supposed to go out, and
they had a date.
she told them, yeah, she
Yeah, but at
mhm.
that time, remember, he didn't know that she cut her hair.
That's right. That's the
So,
first time. That's
yeah,
right. That's right.
that's first time he has seen her with a
Right.
haircut, and yeah, he was not happy about that at
Not
all.
at all.
But and at the
Not at
time,
all.
he didn't know what she was up to.
Right.
You know.
Because he did. And remember, so the guys, the thing about the paper is what Terry decides to do is she decides to take Rick on as her personal project.
Yes.
He's going to be, remember, he's going to be the story that she's going to write about and eventually turn in,
Yes.
at the end of her experiment. So,
Hmm.
she latches on to Rick. They laugh about the fact that, he got set up, with the little girl, and that didn't
Yeah.
go left. But at school, they become best buds. Terry takes Rick out because Rick kind of dresses, for the 80s, he dresses like he's in the 60s. He's just not,
Yeah, I was gonna say like
hip.
70s, maybe.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, 70s.
Yeah, he dressed
So,
like he was in the 70s, but she took him
right,
shopping, changed
right,
his the whole look,
right.
and that's when it's like he just became more confident, you
Absolutely.
know. Yeah,
Yeah, new clothes always does that to you. I do have to say, when you get a pair of
yeah,
new shoes, new whatever, it pumps your confidence up. And he needed that, And,
yes,
and Terry being as, confident as she is,
yes,
period, as a woman, period. She's
yeah,
confident. So obviously it's going to travel over even
to
more
Rick.
as
Hmm.
her playing a guy. But
Yeah,
so one thing that would happen throughout this film when we would meet up with
hmm,
the our arch nemesis in the film, which is uh the Deborah's boyfriend, Greg.
Greg.
Greg had this thing at lunchtime where he would go to the cafeteria. He'd go to the table
Yep.
of, what's considered the nerds, the geeks, the unpopular people,
Hmm.
and he would lift the freaking the
Table.
bench up where they're eating at to
Yep.
kind of dump their food. And they have gotten used to it, which lets you know he's been doing this at this school for a long,
Yeah.
long time. And we're at a point where, you know, uh Kevin, or not Kevin, but Rick and Terry are at lunch, and they're talking over things. Rick's feeling good. He just got new clothes, and freaking, what did tell them what
Greg.
happened?
Um,
Yeah,
well, let me see. Greg was mad because um, Deborah was talking to them.
right,
You know,
right.
she started. You know, well,
She liked Terry. She got a
Terry
little
and
bit pissed.
Deborah started talking because remember
Right,
she lost the back of her earring, and he told her to use the
right.
back of the eraser.
And they're
So
looking at him
you
like,
know, yeah,
"You're a guy. How would you know to use the back of an eraser?"
yeah,
And
and he's
he's
like, I
like,
have sisters.
"Right, clean that up real
Mhm,
fast."
yeah. So, anyways, so Terry and or Greg didn't like he hated them. So what he did was Rick had nice
Oh,
outfit
those,
on
right,
and that
right,
nice jacket, and
right.
Greg went up to him and just put the tray all over him. I mean, it was
Spaghetti,
spaghetti and some other stuff. Yeah,
just a dick. He's an
yeah,
asshole. This is what he
yeah.
does, you know. And Terry was like, because
He was
Rick
mad.
didn't do anything. Rick is pretty passive, and just because
Yeah,
you're passive doesn't mean you're weak or you're not
right,
that you're afraid. It just means you're just not about that. You don't want to go there. There's just no
right,
need for it. And Terry's like, they go to the bathroom, clean them up, and Terry's like, dude, why didn't you knock the shit out of him? Why didn't you just,
hmm
and you know, Rick's like, he's just not about it. Just
not worth the time.
whatever.
Yeah, not
Yeah,
worth
he's
his
not worth
time.
the time. But
hmm
I don't know if it was that same day, but when they catch, when they're back in the cafeteria and Buddy shows up after school to give Terry a message
Yeah.
saying that,
Oh, yeah. It was the next day.
yeah, right.
hmm
And
Yeah,
what
he
do they
shows
do?
up.
What does he do to get
I'm
back
sorry.
at Rick?
Oh, so what they did was, well, when Buddy showed up, he showed up to let Terry know that Kevin, what he called him, Kavina,
Kavina, yeah,
wanted to see her that
right,
evening. So, anyways, Greg was messing with the nerds,
right.
and it just,
Same thing that he always
Rick,
does.
yeah, Rick got tired of it. Rick got tired of it,
Right.
and he just, stood up on a table and, put him on blast,
Yeah,
and
called
basically
him
got,
out.
yeah, got tired of it.
Embarrassing.
Yeah, totally embarrassed him, you
And you
know.
have the girlfriend, like his girlfriend's like, because at this point you embarrassed him. I mean,
hmm
you don't do that to Greg. No one does that to him. So when Rick, stood up and did this speech, making an ass out of him, and I love how he had everyone
Yeah,
lift the table. Greg standing in the middle
a
of all of
tribute
them.
to you, Greg.
A tribute to you, Greg. That's right. And they lift the
Yeah,
tables and get him back. And Deborah's like,
yep,
Greg at this point wants to kill him. He wants to kill
yeah,
him. And so his girlfriend's like, this is enough,
right.
like
Let it go.
let it
hmm
go. Like, it's a joke. It's a joke. Everyone laughed, ha ha. And at that point, she's just done with
Yeah, over
Greg,
it. Yep.
which is awesome for Rick because when he
hmm
leaves out of that cafeteria, he still needs to ask someone to the prom. So Terry's like, go and do it. And at this point, I don't you think at this point you can tell that Terry's kind of feeling
Terry
Rick?
started liking, yeah, Terry
Right,
started liking Rick. She
right,
started liking Rick, and she did not want him to ask Deborah to the prom.
right. And he
Anybody
did.
else,
Right,
but he did. He asked Deborah to the prom, not knowing she was going to say yes, and
right.
she
He was
ended up saying
shocked.
yes. And Terry was disappointed, she
Oh, you
was,
can see,
you
yeah,
know, but
the hurt
he,
in her eyes.
yeah, he told her, look, if you're not going to the prom, then
Right,
I'm not going. So she had no other choice. She ended up asking her best friend Denise,
right,
that ended up
right,
going with her to the prom,
right,
you know.
right.
So yeah.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
all of that happens, and the study is
Mhm.
going quite well. No one's busted Terry. Everyone buys that
Yeah,
she's a he, that she's a guy. So we get to the prom, which is the big buildup. Because everything has to happen. Everything is
yeah.
going to happen.
Everything
We
happened at
get
the prom.
yeah, everything is going to come out at the prom.
Mhm.
And so we get to the prom, and these kids had a beach prom. It was beautiful. They
Yeah,
had that band.
live band.
I wrote it down. I forget the name of the song, but it's a song.
Yes, it
It,
was.
you
Yeah, I forgot.
it was called Brock's, and I wrote it down. Anyways,
Um,
so there's a band at the prom, and what is it? Brock Davis, I think
yeah,
is the name of the band at the prom. Um, and Denise, who is uh just to mention Terry's best friend, and everyone needs a Denise. She's a ride or die. I
yeah,
mean,
she is.
she's been asked to the prom just by dweebs, people that she didn't want to go to. So of course she's going to accompany her best
Best
friend
friend. Yep.
Terry to the
Mhm.
prom, so that because Terry doesn't want Rick to pull out of the prom, and even though she
No.
hates that he's going with Deborah, nothing against Deborah, but at this point, you know
Yeah,
that
yeah. That.
she likes Rick.
Oh
Okay, you
yeah. I
know
think
it.
she was. I think she fell in love with him. At that point.
Absolutely. Yeah, right.
At that point.
I think she fell in love with them when they were at Rick's house earlier, and she goes in, and she
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
that part where she
Yeah.
goes in. He didn't want her to go into his room because he feels like the music
He was.
he listens
Yeah.
to is just not what everyone likes, because he's into James Brown and a lot of just
Mhm.
old soul music,
16, 7.
old
Yeah.
rock and
Yeah.
roll, 60s, 70s rock and roll, but he loved James Brown. And Terry, so at that point, when you see them together on the couch, throwing back some beers, you
Yeah.
see in Terry's eyes that I think at that point, that's when she fell in love, you know, um, with Rick. But anyways, so
Yeah.
Joanne, start telling that what starts happening at the prom for our,
So yeah. So well, Denise, the guitarist, the
right,
guy who was playing the guitar,
right,
he was flirting. They were flirting back and forth,
right,
and Terry was watching Deborah and Rick.
right,
And
right.
then when they well, hold on. Well, remember when Kevin showed up at the house?
Yes.
He showed up at the house because he was looking
Right.
for
Oh,
Terry.
that's right. Right.
He was looking, yeah, he was looking for Terry, and
Yes.
Buddy told him, the only way I'll tell you if you let me go with you.
Right.
Remember?
Right.
Then he ran
Right.
upstairs to get dressed. He's like, because it's formal. So anyway,
Yeah. You were.
yeah, so anyways,
Mhm.
they do the prom king and queen, and Deborah,
Yeah, they
she's
announced
the
it.
queen, and then
Of
Greg is the
course, Greg.
king, but
Right.
yeah, normal tradition, they dance together. Well,
Right.
this time she didn't want them dancing together because
Yeah.
they had broken up,
Right.
and they were dancing, and Greg, he's putting on his gloves,
Oh
and
yeah,
he went
his
up to Rick
gloves. Right.
and he punched him.
Knocks him
Remember, he
out.
punched
I mean, he knocks him
knocked him
out. I
out,
mean,
knocked him
yeah, that
over
was a
the gate thing.
right. He absolutely knocks the shit out of Rick. He really does. And Rick is
Yeah, he
kind of
did.
out for a few seconds. Deborah
Yeah,
runs over, to him, and then Terry, you don't mess with my bud, my best friend,
right.
So
She jumps
Terry ends
on his
up
back.
jumping on. She jumps on his back. They're in the ocean
Yep.
fighting. At this point, you see Kevin there, and he's looking at Terry because
Like
he's
what? Yeah, like what's going
what the
on?
hell? You're in a tux. And then
Right,
you have Buddy who's like,
buddy.
you're not going to hit my sister. So
So
then
he
he
jumps on his
goes
back.
in and jumps on his back. So they're both trying to take Greg down. Kevin's standing there like, what the F is going on? So
Right.
they all get together, and you have not you have Rick who's
Yes.
looking at
Greg.
Greg, well, not Greg, but he's looking at, remember, Kevin and Terry are standing there. Remember, Terry is like, Kevin's asking Terry, what are you doing dressed up like this? Why didn't you tell me you were going here? And they're
Yeah.
talking, and Rick's kind of paying attention, thinking this is a lover's quarrel between two gay men, because he doesn't know that Terry's a girl. And so Terry's like,
Well, remember
she,
Rick.
go ahead.
Sorry.
No.
Remember Rick and Greg. They fought again. Remember, Rick beat him up.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Because after
Yeah.
Rick got
He
up from being
back
knocked
up.
out, he did. He should have.
Yeah,
You're right.
Rick beat him
You're
up.
right.
He
Right.
beat him to a
Whooped
pulp.
his ass. Absolutely
And
whooped his ass. Yes.
yeah, and then after that, that's when Kevin um, was looking at Terry like, what the heck is going on?
Right.
And then she told him, I'll tell you later. She grabs Rick and they go, behind
In this,
the
in it.
bush or
Right.
whatever. And that's when she does the reveal that, because that, like, he thinks that, like, I know already you're gay, Terry. And
It's
she's like,
okay.
no.
Not a
And
big
that's when,
deal. Not a
she
big deal.
revealed I'm a female. And at that point, Rick is pissed and he's also hurt.
But tell him how she revealed it. That's a big deal how she revealed it because he doesn't believe it, and he's like, well, whatever.
Oh,
So she remember
she opens up her
she
shirt.
flashes him. Yeah.
She opens up her shirt and he looks at her and says, "Are those tits?"
Right.
You know,
Right.
and that's when he was beside himself. He couldn't believe it. So then he walks off, and then she follows him, and then grabs
Right.
him, and then she kisses him, and that's when
In
he
front
looked.
of
Deborah was standing there, and that's when he
right.
says, "She's or he's a she."
Because
You
everyone's
know,
watching. It's in the middle of prom. It's
yes,
1985. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you don't see that a lot. So you see these two guys kissing, and
yeah,
Rick's want to make sure, and so he announces to everyone at the prom,
yeah,
"It's okay, guys. It's a girl.
yeah,
He's a girl." And so that he was pissed. He was absolutely pissed. I mean, you've been my best friend for weeks now. We've hung out, we've gone shopping,
hmm
and you never told me.
you
And on
never,
top of that, he doesn't know yet that he is the project. That
right,
she's writing
yeah,
about him. So it all goes left. Kevin is smiling at the end of this because she got her, I guess, her dues, what she had coming
yeah,
to her basically. And he gets to find out that she's in love with another man.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so we wrap it up, guys, with Terry going home. She's absolutely depressed.
yeah,
It didn't go the way that she wanted it to go. She knew at some point she would have to tell him, but not like that, not being caught like that.
right,
She goes home, and what's funny is, remember, our boy Buddy, who makes appearances throughout the whole film because he's super
yeah,
funny. She
yeah.
goes home. She's going upstairs to go and tell him about him. What does she walk in on?
She walked in on Buddy and Sandy in the bed,
Right. In bed.
in bed, yeah, and I think Terry was just happy that to get rid of Sandy, you know,
Right, right. Because Sandy was
yeah,
like wanting Terry, but
right,
it's funny how Terry's standing there wanting to open up to Buddy
hmm
and tell him everything, and he's like, like, we'll talk about this some other time because
right,
remember, he finally got what he's been wanting throughout the whole film. He
yeah,
finally got laid with Sandy. But it's really sad though because the next day you see Terry at her her typewriter and she's typing up, finishing up the
hmm
story. She's crying because at
yeah,
this point it's been probably months before since she's seen
yeah, right,
Rick
hmm
and talked to Rick. She's no longer with Kevin.
no, she lost
And
her best friend and she lost, her
the
boyfriend,
man that
and
and Rick was the man that she loved. So,
hmm
what happens is the paper, everyone ends up loving the paper.
hmm
She
and
wins, she ends up getting the
she got,
summer job
yep,
at the
yep.
Sun Tribune. And then
hmm
at the end of the film, Joanne, let's take them to the
At
end
the
of the
end of
film.
the
What happens?
film, Buddy got his license. He gets his license, and he goes and to pick her up, and they're talking, and then they or Buddy turns around, and Rick is standing there by the car, and
Right,
they talk, and
right.
they decide basically, that they're going to start dating,
Dating. I mean, they,
and then
yeah.
his
And I just want
motorcycle
to say
shows
this.
up. Oh, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Let me just say this before you tell that.
Um,
The thing I love about it is, at the end of movies, we always want that happy ending, and that's one thing I
yeah,
love about '80s films is that all the teenage films, towards the end, you always get that happy ending because
yeah,
with a lot of the teenage films in the '80s, it's always about dating. At least the ones that we
yeah,
watch, your 16 Candles, your Just Wanted Guys. It's about dating, teenage relationships, liking
yeah,
someone, and so at the end, Rick did read the story and he thought she did a fabulous job.
yeah,
He mentioned, basically she stayed on his mind. So they're together, and then our favorite funny younger brother,
Yeah,
Buddy, is
yeah.
standing there.
And
And go ahead, Joey.
a motorcycle drives up with a woman on there, and he found his Juliet.
Right,
So
right,
he gets on a
right,
motorcycle and drives off, to paradise.
right,
It was just a
right.
really, really good movie. I
Yeah,
really, I loved it. The director, she did a great job.
right. Her
It
name
was
was
just
let's see, Lisa
Lisa
Gottlieb.
Gottlieb. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She
Yeah.
directed this film. I thought she did a great job. I thought it was a funny film. I love the actors in the film.
Yeah.
The Joyce, because I want to make sure that I mention. This is a 1985 comedy again, guys.
Mm-hmm.
It was written by Lisa Gottlieb, and
Yeah.
it starred Joyce Heiser. She played
Mm-hmm.
Terry. William Zepka. He played
Mm-hmm.
Greg Tolan. Clayton Roner. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He plays Rick Morehouse.
Yes.
Um, you had Buddy, who was played by Billy, and you had Tony Hudson, who
Yeah.
played Denise, and of course Sherilyn Fenn, who was our she was a special um, uh, appearances by
Yes.
Sherilyn Fenn, who we all know later on. If you know Sherilyn Fenn and Fenn
Yeah.
in some of her films, you know her. But I really like this film, Joanne. I'm so
Me
happy
too.
that you decided for us to do something like this together because Joanne and I, growing up, we just we
Mm.
she loved movies just as much as I love movies.
Oh
We
yeah,
probably
I love
seen
English movies.
Grease 2 so
Oh
many
yeah,
times. That
so
was
many
like our
times.
favorite film. We loved Grease
Oh yeah.
2. Yeah, that was our favorite one, but we loved all the teenage 80s movies, you know. So she thought
Right.
it'd be a great idea if we come up with doing this. Go ahead, Joanne.
I'm sorry. Real quick.
Hmm.
The guy that played William Zapka, the one that played Greg Tolan. In every movie that he's been in, he's been the bully. He played
Really?
in Cobra Kai. Hmm.
Oh, that is him.
That's him. And then he also played in
That's
Cujo. But
right.
he was a friend of the little boy in Cujo. But yeah, he's in
No
Cobra Kai
way.
with Ralph Macchio.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. So
Yeah.
thank you. So okay, I didn't even realize that. And
Yeah, that's him.
but he also was in the original Karate Kid, right? I mean, because that's why.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
he was the nemesis in the Karate
He was
Kid,
a remember he was a bully in
protagonist.
that one too. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I totally
Hmm.
spaced that. Okay,
Yeah.
guys. So yeah, so Greg Tolan, who played, or
Hmm.
Greg Tolan, who his name, Joanne, again,
William
the
Zapka.
okay, William Zapka. He plays in
Uh-huh.
Cobra Kai, and he was the original bad guy in Karate Kid, and now
Yeah.
obviously
Yeah.
the Karate Kid, Cobra Kai as they got older, and
Yes.
that's
Hmm.
very true. I didn't, and honestly, as I'm watching it, I'm like, dude, isn't that I like? It's like I've seen him before. But
Yeah.
anyway, so yeah, as Joanne says, he plays a great bad guy, and he's not hard
Hmm.
on the eyes as well. Um,
No.
so, but I enjoyed this. Joanne is going
Hmm.
to. She thought it'd be great to come on once a month and for her and I
Yeah.
to do our a movie. And we thought, we do a lot of the John Hughes films. So next month, probably around this time next month, Joanne, what did you decide to bring? Like, what are we gonna do next month? Which movie?
Pretty in Pink. Yeah. Pretty
Okay,
in Pink.
Pretty in Pink. Okay,
Yeah.
that's Molly Ringwald. And
Yes.
one thing about Molly Ringwald and John Hughes is that I mean, she's part of the Brat Pack in the 80s. So she does a
Yeah.
lot
She's in
of
every
his
movie that
films.
I believe every movie that he's made. Yeah.
Damn there.
Yeah.
So we'll do Pretty in Pink next month.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it'll be once
Yeah.
a month that Joanne will come and join us and get her used to doing this
Yes.
podcast. And you did great, by the way. Anyways,
Thank you.
Joanne, where can people find you, Joanne? Like what? Like your social
Um,
media? Sorry, your social media, your
oh.
Instagram. Guys, just a hidden secret, really quick. This has been a day with Joanne. All right. My sister and I, we video every day, and but we do have an older sister, by the way. Our older sister's name is Lori, and Lori didn't do a
Lori.
lot of movies. You know,
Yeah,
she liked a lot of your TV shows and stuff. You know,
yeah,
but anyways, and Joanne and I are closer to age. You know, we're like a year
yes,
apart, so yeah, Lori is older than us, so she's got some years on us, a few years on us, but it was always Joanne and I. Lori was in high school, so Joanne and I was always, together. So
yeah,
anyways, funny today, she was just really nervous, and that's why we're laughing right now because she made it through like I thought, like I knew she would. And
yeah.
it was so funny because she totally thought that she would just sit there and would forget the freaking movie or forget the
I
talking
did.
points. So you did it, you did great. Now I'm asking you, how can people reach you? What's your social media?
Um, to be
Do you
honest,
remember? Yeah.
I don't. I don't. I have Twitter and I have Facebook and I have TikTok, but right now, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
That's okay. Anyways, type in Missyjo Stargazer. You can find her on
Oh, on
Twitter as
Instagram.
on Instagram as Missyjo Stargazer. You can
Yes,
find
on
her there,
Instagram,
and
Missy
from
Joe
there,
Stargazer.
there you go. And your TikTok is Joanne McCree. Is it Joanne McCree or is it Missy Joe?
Missy Joe Stargazer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And tell people where you got the Missyjo Stargazer from, real quick. Your name.
So, oh no. So my mom name is Joanne also. And so, so they all, they get us mixed up. So I just decided to put the Missy on there. So I go by Missy Joe. And the Stargazer I got from, I don't know if you guys ever heard of the band, um, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing
This is her
this.
favorite brand. It's okay. It's okay. I wish that I had your page because
Yeah.
gosh,
Oh,
I yeah, it's okay. But anyways, it's a favorite band that she loves
sorry.
in the 90s, and she knew a lot of the guys from this band.
Yeah,
She
the
knew them,
Seattle
and
band.
they were a
Mother Love
grunge
Bone.
mother. There we go. Mother Love Bone. We
Mother
also
Love Bone.
right.
Mother
We
Love
lived in
Bone.
Seattle during
Yeah.
the grunge years, and so
Hmm.
she knew a lot of the band. She loves music, all types of music, but she loves country music. She loves hard rock music, and
Yeah.
that was her favorite band. And they had a song called Stargazer.
Stargazer. Hmm.
Yeah,
So
so
that's where I got
that's
it
where the
from.
name come from. Fun facts. Anyways, love you, Joanne. Thank
Love
you
you
guys
too.
for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. Thanks for allowing Joanne and I to get through this and us breaking our in on this podcast thing that we do
Hmm.
here. Tomorrow, guys, I have Jay Staccavel. And Jay, we're going to talk about your name tomorrow because I know I have to pronounce it right. But anyways, Jay is a director, a writer, super talented. Thank you, Pharaoh King, for hooking me up, and also Jay Jones actually hooked me up with Jay. But Jay will be here tomorrow night. I'm going to interview him. Like I said before, I saw a film of his, really good, and I'm looking forward to some more of his work. So you guys will meet him tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Next week, on the 18th, I believe it's the 18th, I have a beautiful woman that's coming on. She's a makeup artist. She's a Sacramento legend, actress, all that. Her name is Bunny Stewart, and just a great soul. And you guys will be able to meet her next week. Also, though, guys, on I think it's Tuesday of next week, we will get into Let the Right One In, episodes 8 and 9, and then we'll finish that up probably 2 weeks from there. We'll finish up with episode 10. So please continue to watch Let the Right One In, Sunday nights at 10 p.m. on Showtime or wherever you stream Showtime. I happen to stream it on Hulu. So I'm looking forward to finishing that. And guys, we'll discuss what we're gonna do next. Also, don't forget to follow my guys, John DiGregorio for Movie Lovers Unite, Alex Haynes for A Town Reviews, and our newest guy that has been with Movie Lovers for a long time, in and out, and he's back with us. His name is Frenchie. and he's with Movie Lovers Unite as well. He takes care of a lot of our background. And Christian, shout out to Christian who takes care of all of our editing. Thank you so much, Christian, and thanks everyone who helps us out on Movie Lovers Unite. Thanks for joining my segment. Rossie Talks, Movies, TV, and everything in between. And by the way, guys, this literally is episode 11 of Rossie Talks. So I meant to celebrate
Nice.
episode 10, but we're on episode 11 and looking to give you many more reviews, movies, games, all that stuff. Thank you again for giving us you guys our time. And we will see you next week, movie lovers. Joanne, sit right there.
Okay.
Don't go anywhere at all.
Okay.
All right. And Joanne's going to come back next month, like I said, guys. So appreciate you guys. Thanks for joining us.